From spooky creatures to a working guillotine, here are the scariest build hacks you'll ever need. Looking for a spooky way to light up your walkways? Try these pumpkin candle holders. We start by dropping an armor stand wearing a carved pumpkin into the ground, standing on a chain. Then we use a piston to replace the ground, and then use another piston to push a lightning rod into the pumpkin's head. Now we're able to place some candles on top of the lightning rod, making for an awesome design for your outdoor lighting. If you drop 3 armor stands wearing carved pumpkins onto 3 snow layers, then shove a block into them and place an iron pressure plate under it, it creates a 3D pumpkin for you to decorate your tables with. Much better than just dropping the regular pumpkin pie item into an item frame and calling it a day. If you dispense an armor stand into the upper half of a pointed dripstone, it will actually stand on top of the lower half, looking like it was impaled on top of the spike. And if you're able to pose your armor stands too, then you really can make them look like they're in pain. Did you know that if you fire a piston directly into a door, it actually breaks the door? This hidden mechanic of pistons is actually perfect for creating a jump scare to prank your friends. Place a door in your house that is opened using a button, and then attach that button to a piston with a slime block on it that breaks the door and ejects an armor stand at your friend. You can also place a note block with a dragon head on it to make a super loud sound as well. This coffin design is super easy to do, just by placing 2 dark oak planks, and then surrounding one half with 3 trapdoors, we have that classic coffin shape. Then by placing an invisible item frame on the top with a golden sword, we can rotate it to point downward so it looks like a cross. The whole thing is so simple and classy. It makes me wish I could be buried in a coffin like this. Not that I want to be buried anytime soon. Making a zombie armor stand is easy but boring! Instead, why not take the zombie's head off, place it floating in the air, and then use a piston to push the armor stand into the head, making it look like this headless zombie is carrying his head. You could even do the same thing with player heads, skeletons, and wither skeletons. This terrifying build hack looks like someone getting their head sawed in half. Gross. To build it, dispense an armor stand below a stone cutter and give it a player head. Then use a piston to shove the armor stand to one side of the block. Now you can use carpets to create the shape of the body, and dots of redstone dust to look like blood splatters on the ground. Here's how you can create a hidden trap that makes ghostly screams whenever your friends walk by. All you need to do is place some skull shriekers in the ground and hide them under some carpets. If someone walks on top of the carpet, the shriekers will make a shrieking sound, confusing your friends and maybe even tricking them into thinking they're summoning a warden. You could embed skulls in your walls to create this dungeon wall design. By using pistons to push stair blocks into an armor stand, the armor stand itself gets pushed to the edge of the block, just barely allowing its face to show through the wall. This makes for a really creepy bit of detail on your walls that isn't possible with regular blocks. This trick is especially perfect for creating catacomb walls filled with tons of skulls and bones, and with all the different types of mob skulls and stairs, the possibilities are endless. This weird crab creature has an eye that follows you. Its body is made up of sculk blocks, a sculk catalyst, and some warped trapdoors. Then his legs are made of levers and lightning rods, and his arms are just dark prismarine stairs. And to make the head, all you have to do is place down a lodestone and put a mangrove trapdoor in front of it. The cutout of the mangrove trapdoor lets the dots of the lodestone peek through, which when viewed from different angles creates the illusion of an eyeball following you around. You can then use some sculk veins to cover the other sides of the head. Stop looking at me, you weirdo! This unique tombstone design is made using an illegal building technique. By placing redstone blocks in water like this, we can instantly ignite TNT placed on the sides of this wall block, confusing the game into thinking that this wall is actually connected to something. I guess Mojang added vertical slabs after all. Then, by removing the water and redstone blocks and placing down some dirt or soil, we can complete the look. And by using different types of wall blocks and dirt blocks, you can fill a whole graveyard with a wide variety of designs. If you're looking to decorate your mansion with some exotic rugs, then why not go for building this ridiculous-looking Steve rug? By placing down a player head and using some colored carpets to shape the body, with some terracotta and polished blackstone for the hands and feet, it really looks like you've murdered a wild Steve and turned him into a very disturbing hunting trophy. But what might be a little less weird is changing out the Steve head for a zombie head and making the hands green for a zombie rug. But neither of those is nearly as epic as this dragon carpet! Like before, we placed down a dragon head and used woolen carpets to shape the dragon's body. But by using stone buttons, we're able to actually create the scales that go down the dragon's spine and tail. And as an extra feature, the dragon's mouth will actually move when you press the scale near its head. Nom, 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 nom. Take a look at this cute little ghost sign. It's made using an armor stand wearing an iron chest plate for the mouth, and then some armor stands wearing wither skulls for the eyes. Then after the blocks are pushed in, the armor stand gets dark and the face appears. Plus, since the arms of the chest plate stick out on both sides, you can make this sign double-sided. If you place down signs without writing any text on them, they kind of look like boards that are nailed down. And if you use trapdoors to make your signs float over a hole in the wall, it looks like boards nailed over a broken window. You could even go the extra mile and copy and paste these square symbols on the corners of the signs, then dye them dark gray to give the boards actual nails. This nightmare monster is not only freaky looking, but it is also incredibly expensive to build. To start, we have to place down 6 armor stands facing in different directions, each with their own elytra, and then break the blocks they're standing on to combine them all into one place. Then we drop 2 anvils inside of the armor stand, and build the top of the body with levers, lightning rods, a pressure plate, and a skull. You might think it's a waste to gather 6 elytra just to build one statue, but you've got to admit, it does look very cool. Using this special command, we can create this armor stand that has no legs. Then by giving it a chest plate and a head, and hanging it over a stone cutter with some chains, we can make it look like someone's had their legs chopped off by a saw blade. Then don't forget to add extra blood using carpets and glazed terracotta, since redstone dust definitely isn't enough for a torture machine like this. If you look in the shadows, you can see these terrifying eyes staring at you in the darkness, and we can easily recreate this effect with just 1 white banner and 5 black dye in a loom. Now you can make some copies and place these around in one of your builds to add some extra scary atmosphere. Or you can hide them in your friend's strip mine as a prank, making them think Herobrine is on your server. Here's how you can build this head in a jar. To start, place a stone cutter in the ground, and on top of it, place a stair block, lime glass, and an iron trapdoor. Now dispense an armor stand into the stairs, and give it any player head you like. Then just place trapdoors around the stair block. You can build a few of these with different player heads and glass colors to fill a mad scientist laboratory. I wonder if they're all alive. This witch scarecrow has got to be the most unique design for a scarecrow I've ever seen in Minecraft. Instead of being made of hay and held up with a fence post, this scarecrow is made of moss and held up with a potted azalea. Its arms are made with lightning rods, and this witch's hat is made using a super clever combination of warped trapdoors and slabs, giving the hat's brim an uneven curve. Wish I had a hat that's stylish. This crazy pumpkin monster is made using an amazing blend of orange blocks. Most of the pumpkin is built out of, well, pumpkin blocks, but we're able to get a lot more detail out of the pumpkin using red sandstone stairs, slabs, and walls, as well as some acacia fences mixed in. And then of course for the teeth, we're using pointed dripstone, some fire for the eyes, and 2 little armor stands for him to hold in his hands. This Slenderman statue is guaranteed to freak out anyone who spots it in the woods. First, you place down 2 blackstone walls and 2 concrete, then give him a blank white player head. Next, use levers for the shoulders and end rods for the arms. And finally, use this banner pattern to create his suit and tie. Man, he really freaks me out. At least he's just a statue though. Wait, where did it go? Dad! In order to create a spider statue with long, thin legs that are close together, you should use a combination of dark oak fences and nether brick fences. Although all of the wooden fence types connect to each other, nether brick fences don't actually connect, meaning you can place them directly next to wooden fences in order to create multiple long fence posts right next to each other without creating the connection beams. With enough of these, you've got a big, freaky spider statue. Don't forget to use some invisible item frames with eyes of ender to really seal the deal. It's unfortunate that there's only one jack-o'-lantern design in Minecraft. Given that in real life, you can carve a jack-o'-lantern to look however you want. But if we use custom maps on invisible item frames, we can overlay any texture onto our pumpkins, allowing us to create evil-looking jack-o'-lanterns, sad jack-o'-lanterns, and even this awesome creeper jack-o'-lantern. You can even make this jack-o'-lantern of me, though it honestly doesn't look that great. Upsetting. These old-timey things are called pillories, and are used to lock someone in place as punishment. You can build one with some fences, planks, and a stair block. And to actually put a person inside of one, you can dispense an armor stand into it, give it pants, put a player head on the back of the stair, and place 2 buttons for the hands. If you can get a player head of one of your friends, this is a pretty funny thing to build at the spawn of your server. You can even leave a barrel full of eggs nearby for people to throw at them as they pass by. Take that! It looks like Steve is about to be given the guillotine. By using this specially posed armor stand positioned right up against this grindstone, we can create this statue of Steve bending his head down to have it chopped off. Then we can create the blade of the guillotine by attaching a hanging sign to the end of some chains, completing this rather grim scene. Gravestones tend to be very decorative to honor those who have died, but there aren't a lot of blocks in Minecraft that have that level of detail. One that happens to work perfectly, however, is the lodestone, as it's actually meant to resemble a chiseled piece of stone, and even has a dross design on its side. That being said, lodestones are pretty expensive, requiring a netherite ingot to craft, so you may not want to use them for every single grave you build. This cauldron is full of candy! By placing 4 armor stands with differently colored leather helmets on top of each other, and then breaking the blocks they're standing on to combine them all into one block, they make the appearance of a big pile of candy. Then we just have to shove a cauldron on top of it all using a piston, and it now looks like the candy's sitting in a big bowl. Using a secret feature of armor stands, we can create this hilarious coffin dance build. In Bedrock Edition, armor stands will change their pose whenever they're powered by redstone. So by building a redstone clock using comparators and torches like this, covering it all with carpets, and placing armor stands in these 4 spots, we can have 4 armor stands that are constantly changing their poses, making it look like they're dancing. And if we cover 3 blocks in spruce trapdoors in the middle of them, it looks like they're carrying a coffin while they dance. Truly iconic. Did you know you can make an armor stand invisible in Bedrock Edition by splashing it with an invisibility potion? We can use this secret trick to create floating items like this axe stuck in this door. Place down the armor stand and shove it into the corner of these 2 blocks using pistons. Then change its pose to this pose by crouching and right-clicking it, and give it an axe. Now when you splash the armor stand with the invisibility potion, it will appear as though there's an axe embedded in your front door. This zombie portal actually has blinking eyes. Most of the zombie's head is pretty simple, with green terracotta for the skin and quartz stairs for the teeth. But to create the blinking eye effect, we need banners and trapdoors. Banners are actually animated blocks and slowly sway back and forth in the wind. So when a banner is placed above a trapdoor, it moves in and out of the block, being partially obstructed half the time. So by creating a banner that looks like an eyeball, we can easily create this blinking eye effect. Using this magic carrot, we can bring the pig in this painting to life! Ta-da! To do this yourself, just place down the painting and then replace the block behind the pig's face with a trapdoor. Now if you hide a pig in the block behind the trapdoor, it'll pop its little face out of the painting when you bring a carrot or a potato near it. I feel like the eyes in this painting are following me. Normally, when you try to place a block on top of a mob, the game won't let you. However, when placing down a bed, the part of the bed with the pillow doesn't actually check if there's an entity in the way, and will let you place a bed inside of a mob. We can use this to place a bed on top of a villager, surround the whole thing in trapdoors, and create this villager coffin. You just need to ignore the fact that the villager is still alive, staring you down, begging to get out. This is your home now, buddy. This electric chair not only looks authentic, but actually works too. To build it, place down a rail and surround 3 sides of it with trapdoors. Place another trapdoor for the back of the chair, an open fence gate above the rail, and a lightning rod on top. Finally, put a minecart on the rail, and your electric chair is complete! Now whoever sits here during a thunderstorm will be zapped to death, as the lightning rod will attract the lightning to strike the person in the chair. To really step up the creep factor of your trees, why not try giving them faces? By using this banner pattern, we can create a big toothy grin and these triangular evil eyes, which when placed on a brown block like oak logs makes the tree look alive! Then you can add extra details like cobwebs and lanterns to really make your haunted tree even scarier. It's easy enough to make an armor stand look like Pennywise the Clown using dyed armor and a custom player head, but he wouldn't be complete without a scary red balloon. Just by placing a few chains that connect to a floating red concrete block, we can create Pennywise's balloon. Or we could instead attach the balloon to a fence post and connect it to a leashed chicken hidden underground to make it more like the balloon is held on with a string. In the real world, pumpkins come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, yet in Minecraft, all of your pumpkins look exactly the same. But by putting a carved pumpkin on an armor stand and burying it in the ground, we can create a tiny little pumpkin to give our gardens a little more variety. Placing down player heads can help make a build a little scarier, but if you want to make things more realistic, why not use a custom textured player head that looks like it's on its side? This way the heads strewn about on the floor look more like they've been rolling around, as opposed to being perfectly propped straight up. It's crazy how just by rotating the texture, these heads become so much scarier. To give your graveyards a little more life, try building these jump scare graves. First, place a piston 2 blocks beneath the ground and dispense an armor stand on top of it. Then put a skulk sensor next to the piston, then cover it all up. Now whenever someone walks near this grave, a zombie will pop out to give them a surprise. Not that it's actually that scary. Die! This pumpkin wheelbarrow makes for the perfect addition to an autumn scenery by dispensing an armor stand below a composter, putting a pumpkin on its head, and putting a grindstone and fence gate on the front and back. We've got this super convincing design. This wheelbarrow is so cute it makes me want to build an entire pumpkin patch just so I have an excuse to use this build hack. This is all for you, little wheelbarrow. Oh no! There's a monster under my bed! There could be one under yours too! By placing a daylight sensor underneath the floor, then dispensing an armor stand onto it, we can put a mob head under our bed with its face peeking out. This could be used as spooky decor for your own house, or as a great prank to play on your friends. This wandering ghost is super cute and easy to make too. It uses 3 black concrete blocks stacked on top of each other, 2 black banners on the sides, and a white banner with a very simple design for the face to complete the look. The Wither Throne literally uses netherite gear as an arm set. While most of the chair is made up of standard blocks, these 2 armrests are designed using armor stands wearing netherite helmets and chest plates to give the throne some extra detailing. Pistons are used to shove the armor stands into blocks, as well as align them closer to the center. And then of course the whole chair is made complete with these 3 floating wither heads at the top, connected with fire and chains. You could use zombie heads to decorate your graveyards, but that's boring! How about instead we trap a real living zombie in the ground? First we trap a zombie in a minecart, and then by using some waterlogged slabs, we can secretly keep the zombie from burning in the sun. And when it's finished, it looks like there's a zombie about to crawl out of the ground and start chasing you. You could even use a dispenser to place a pumpkin on his head to make it a little extra spooky. This build should be mostly safe, but don't get too close, otherwise he'll start biting at your ankles. Ow! Stop that! This is a miniature statue of the Grim Reaper made with super basic materials. The body is just a stack of 4 black concrete blocks, and the end of the cloak is made with some blackstone slabs. Then the arms are made with a blackstone wall and a diorite wall, with one being placed a little higher to hold a soul lantern, and one being placed a little lower to hold the Reaper's scythe, which is just some fences and more wall blocks. Finally, we can use this special banner pattern to give this Reaper his iconic skull face, completing this haunting figure. Did you know it's actually impossible to place candles on top of skulls? Well, sort of. If you just place a skull on the ground and try to put a candle on top of it, it won't actually work. But by placing the candle on top of a slab and then using a dispenser to eject an armor stand into the block below the slab, you can put your skull on the armor stand instead of the ground, making it perfectly aligned with the surface of the slab. If you want to give your jack-o'-lanterns more personality, there are all sorts of ways to decorate them. Using buttons or lightning rods, we can give them noses. Using carpets and slabs, we can give them hats. Using coral fans, we can give them hair. And with tripwire hooks, we can even give them funny ears. There are an infinite number of potential pumpkins you can make if you get creative. So tell me what designs you can think of down in the comments below. This shulker box is a trap. In Bedrock Edition, you can create a trapped shulker box that ejects a creeper whenever it's opened. To do this, just place down the shulker box, mine out the block below it, place a block 3 blocks above, and put the creeper on top of the shulker box. Now when you open the shulker box up for the first time, it will fall down into the shulker box and get stuck. Now the next time this shulker box is opened, the creeper will be able to jump out and explode on anybody who tries stealing your stuff. Here's how you can build a pool of toxic waste. First, dig out your lake and make sure it's super deep. Then fill the bottom of the lake with torches and cover it all with carpets. Finally, place layers of lime green stained glass from the bottom to the top, making sure to leave a gap of air between each layer. And there you have it, a disgusting pool of toxic waste. You can decorate the surroundings of the pool however you like, and change the color of the glass for different liquids. Red glass could be used for a pool of blood, purple glass could be used for a lake of poison, and black glass could be used to create what looks like a bottomless pit. When you think of 6-legged mobs in Minecraft, you probably think of the sniffer. But what if we made a disgusting 6-legged blood monster instead? Its body is made of crimson nylium, with crimson roots and weeping vines on its top and bottom to make it look gross and hairy. Sounds like your mum. Then its tail is made from a mangrove trapdoor and a nether wart block, with some more weeping vines for the hairy look. Obviously, its head is just a wither skull, and then all of its limbs are constructed out of levers and lightning rods. When it's finished, this thing looks amazing! Though, to be honest, it also kind of freaks me out. Since pots were introduced, people started using this clever pump design using walls, fences, and a stained glass pane to make it look like the pot is being filled with water. But we instead exchanged the blue glass pane with a purple or green one. We can instead make it look like this pot is being filled with poison or toxic waste. Nether wart blocks almost just look like a red liquid, so you can actually use them to build a bloodbath deep in the sewers. Since nether wart blocks look sort of like blood, you can use them to create a blood pool trickling out of a sewer drain. Use iron bars to look like the sewer drain cover, and make sure you surround the stream of nether wart with slabs so that it looks like it's flowing through a tunnel. For extra detail, use some armor stands and item frames to make the blood pool look like it's filling up with skulls and bones as well. This guillotine actually works! We can create the blade by placing a dripstone on a piston, and then using this guillotine banner design. Then at the bottom we'll place a trapdoor to actually make the player crawl, so the head is under the guillotine blade. Now when we press this button, the piston will fire, detaching the dripstone and causing it to fall on the player's head below, killing them instantly. This frightening wall design is sure to make people too scared to enter your base. The frog lights behind the spruce fence give off an eerie green glow that feels so evil, and obviously the dripstone details make for an intimidating defense. A wall like this would make for a perfect barrier around an evil dark castle. You can place a mob head or a player head on the wall, but it doesn't exactly make much sense since there's nothing holding it up. But by using this command to create a floating sword, we can make it look like the sword is stabbing the head into the wall, holding it in place. Maybe it's kind of morbid, but hey, it's realistic. Did you know you can actually build a sculpt portal in Minecraft? Well, not actually, but pretty close. By just placing blocks in front of a nether portal and then filling the middle with colored glass panes, you can create the illusion that a new portal has been added to the game, with the swirling nether portal texture getting tinted by whatever glass you choose. Maybe instead of sculpt blocks, you could use glowstone blocks instead to create a convincing-looking ether portal, like that's ever gonna happen. Check out this gross rack of hanging monsters and meat. These two shanks of meat are made out of stripped and unstripped mangrove logs, whereas this bloody piece of meat with bones sticking out of it is actually nether quartz ore. This also works pretty well for the body of a hanging skeleton monster, and if you use a sideways bone block with a polished blackstone button on it, you can create an eyeball monster too. And don't forget to sprinkle some redstone dust on the floor beneath everything to make it look like they've been hung up and dripping for a while. The warden is the scariest mob in Minecraft, but this baby warden is honestly just adorable! It uses two player heads, one with a body texture placed as a block, and the other with the head texture placed on an armor stand. He's certainly cute, but maybe it's best not to mess with him. His dad could be nearby. You know that painting with the creeper in it? Well, what if that creeper could actually explode? In order to pull this off, all you need to do is trap a creeper behind the painting using some trapdoors and a honey block, which stops the creeper from jumping out. Now when someone gets near the creeper painting, the creeper will start to hiss, and if they don't figure out what's going on fast enough, then kaboom! If you want your jack-o'-lanterns to stand out from your friends, you can give yours hats. Place your pumpkin with an empty block below it, then place a wither skull on top and dispense an armor stand into the pumpkin. The armor stand will fall, and then when you place a second wither skull on the armor stand, it will be just a little bigger than the one placed as a block, looking like the brim of a top hat. Look at that little guy, the most handsome jack-o'-lantern of all! You can even use the same technique to create a snowman with a top hat using some white concrete powder, levers, and blackstone buttons. And here's a super simple torture chair, where the player sits on a saw blade. Most of the chair is pretty simple, using trapdoors to build the back and the sides. But in order to make this chair actually usable, a minecart has to be placed in first, and then a stone cutter is pushed into the chair with a piston. Now you can simply ride in the minecart and watch your player get sawed in half. Why would anyone willingly sit in this? If you want a yard that says turn around and don't come back, then why not fill it up with heads on spikes? To create this, simply use combinations of walls, fences, chains, and iron bars to create a spike that starts thicker and gets thinner towards the tip. Then you can put scary looking player heads on all of the different spikes to make it look like you've had many trespassers before. And if you put some of the heads on the ground on top of some nether wart blocks, they'll sort of look like heads in puddles of blood. Now get off my lawn, or else! In order to be placed, lanterns need a support block above or below them. And weirdly enough, candles technically count as a supporting block. If you use black candles, they kind of blend in with the chain of the lantern, almost making the lantern look like it's floating in midair. Another weird block that can support hanging lanterns is mob heads and skulls, which when combined with soul lanterns look really cool and mysterious. One of my favorite ways to light up an interior is with floating candles. candles. They're super easy to do and make your build look so much more magical. All you need to do to build them is place 1 to 3 candles on a block and then just break it. Unlike torches, the candles won't pop off into an item and just stay floating there. Now, just repeat it a few dozen times in completely random parts of your ceiling and your boring empty room will start looking like the Great Hall from Harry Potter. I wish I was a real wizard. Usually when you see witches, they're depicted with black cats and broomsticks, but in Minecraft they only ever have the black cats. But we can change this by using a hay bale and some lightning rods to create a broomstick for the witch to ride on. And since they're so high up, the witch won't actually try to walk off, though she can still lob potions at you if you get too close. It's easy enough to create a simple grave using stair blocks, but they could use a little extra detail. We can use regular blocks like this potted dead bush, some candles, and a skull to give it more depth. But if we want to decorate with some items, we'll have to use invisible item frames. By placing down a few invisible item frames with wither roses to resemble dead flowers and bones to resemble, well, bones, we can add just a little extra storytelling to this grave. It kind of feels sad to look at now, like this grave has been long abandoned and forgotten. I'm not crying, you're crying! These bats can be made using only 4 blocks. All it takes is 3 blackstone slabs to create the body and wings, and a wither skull for the head. The head can either go on top of the middle slab for a bat flying upward, or in front of it for a bat flying forward. If you build a bubble column outside someone's window using some soul sand, you can place a scary-looking armor stand in it, and it will bob up and down. From the other side of the window, it looks like there's someone jumping around out there. Build one of these right outside of a window you think your friend passes by a lot, and you'll be sure to get a good reaction out of them. This bat wall design can be done in survival Minecraft using some crazy advanced techniques. It all involves using armor stands wearing iron armor, all at just the right alignments with the wall. First, we have to make sure the floor beneath the wall has 3 chests for our armor stands to stand on. Next, we'll push our first armor stand into an anvil, so its armor is just barely poking out the front of the wall, and then we'll drop it down. Now we'll push 2 more armor stands facing towards the center into an anvil in the middle, and drop those down as well. Finally, we'll place 2 armor stands looking left and right directly in the middle, and drop them down. Now we'll use pistons to fill in the wall from above. And just like that, the bat design appears! This has got to be the most insane building technique I've ever seen for a Minecraft build hack. All just for a silly little bat. You can create this magic lamp that actually emits a pulsating glow onto the table below, or at least that's how it looks. The lamp is actually normal, and there's a sculpt catalyst below that's creating the pulsing texture. While a normal sculpt catalyst won't look like this when placed down, you can easily give it this animation by right-clicking it with a debug stick. Then whatever is placed on top, like a lamp or a skull, will look like it's emitting some sort of energy. Or you can just place a bunch of these pulsating blocks on the ground to create a skulky dance floor. Groovy! It looks like Mojang has finally added zombie soup to the game. Just kidding. But if you want to create your own zombie soup, here's how. Place exactly 3 snow layers below a cauldron filled with water and dispense an armor stand into it. Then when you place a zombie head on the armor stand, it will be standing at the perfect height for its eyes to be peering out of the water. Place some trapdoors around the outside to cover the gap, and there you have it. A giant pot of delicious zombie soup. And if you wanted, you could instead swap this out for a player head with an apple texture to do some apple bobbing. If you hate villagers as much as I do, then you'll love this build hack that lets you dangle them upside down by their ankles. If you place a villager on a candle high enough off the ground, they'll actually stand still for fear of falling off. You can then rename them Dinnerbone to flip them upside down, and place chains connecting above them to make them actually look tied up. Everything after that is down to your own creativity. You can dangle them over a pool of lava, a spinning saw blade, or even a pit of zombies. And what's even better is that it works with almost any mob, even wardens. The elytra would be perfect for creating an armor stand that looks like the angel statues you find in cemeteries. Unfortunately, if you put an elytra on an armor stand, you can't give it a chest plate as well, so it doesn't look quite right. But if we instead use 2 armor stands, with the first one wearing the armor and the skull, and the second one just wearing the elytra, we can drop the second onto the first and make our perfect graveyard angels. If we peek through this crack in the wall, we can see these beady red eyes that stare at us through the darkness and follow us wherever we go. To do this, hollow out a room behind a wall and make all of the walls out of black concrete. Then place 2 redstone blocks in the back of the room to be the eyes, and some black concrete between the eyes as well. Now if you cover up the hole with those blocks and leave a slit cut out using slabs, the eyes will show through, and the blocks we place between the eyes will help to create the illusion that the eyes are moving to follow you. If you wanted to build a giant mob with one big eye, you could go the boring route and use black concrete for the pupil of the eye. But if you really want your monster to have some character, try using this pupil banner instead, with a white square in the corner to act as a highlight. It looks so much better than just using blocks and makes this Kraken feel like he's actually alive. This spiky torture device is called an Iron Maiden. It has spikes on its doors so that the person put inside will be stabbed to death when it closes. Spooky! The closet itself is made of spruce doors and trapdoors, and then an armor stand is pushed into it with a piston, so it's back against the wall. Then dead coral fans are placed in to create the spikes, and some redstone is used to decorate the floor. It doesn't actually deal any damage though, so don't worry about stepping inside.